Let's get right now to our expert panel on this. President of the Fentanyl Solution, Janice Celeste. Also with us, internist of Custom Care Medical, Dr. Frank Contachessa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia.
Janice, let's start off with you first. President Biden, he discussed an agreement made between the United States as well as China regarding this drug crisis. Let's take a listen.
We are restarting cooperation between the United States and PRC on counter-narcotics. With this new understanding, we're taking action to significantly reduce the flow of precursor chemicals and pill presses from China to the Western Hemisphere. It's going to save lives, and I appreciate President Xi's commitment on this issue.
So, Janice, this is expected to reduce the flow of the chemicals used to make fentanyl that come in from China, go to Mexico, they finish the product, and then they smuggle it into the United States thanks to the cartels. But I think what people need to understand is that the people overdosing aren't necessarily even drug addicts, right? They're taking a single pill and dying.
That's correct. They don't even know what they're getting. They think they're getting a Percocet or a Xanax or Adderall because it looks just like that, but it has fentanyl in it. And you know what? It doesn't even pay the cartels to put any real medication into these pills that they're selling on the black market anymore. They just put fentanyl and filler to try to get you hooked. But then they put too much because they're not real chemists. So some pills may have nothing in it. Some pills may have too much in it. And some pills may have just enough to get you addicted so that you'll come back and help them make their fortune.
Unbelievable. And doctor, news coming out of Oregon today. It was the first state in our nation to pass the failed drug decriminalization law that was originally passed in 2021. We're talking about heroin, meth, you name it, like nothing happens to you. The law decriminalized the possession of small amounts of drugs and directed the state's cannabis tax revenue towards addiction treatment services. Now it's getting major pushback as this fentanyl crisis. We're seeing tens of thousands of people overdosing, dying, and many of them are teenagers. What do you think about this? Does decriminalization, does it actually work? Because it looks like it doesn't.
Well, thank you for having me tonight, Lydia. You know, the problem is fentanyl is not your father's and grandfather's drug from the 60s and the 70s, where they said, oh, if you're not careful, you could become addicted to this, you can become addicted to that. This is a much more evil drug. Don't forget, 50 times more powerful than heroin, 100 times stronger than morphine. So it's not, you know, be careful or you'll get addicted. As Janice just said, these drugs are instant addiction or instant overdose, where people, even the first responders who come to help somebody who had an overdose and get just the most minute exposure, can go into an overdose. So the problem is these laws, the decriminalization laws, were intended for more traditional drugs that, of course, have their own risks and problems, but they're not this instant death, instant addiction, or instant overdose of fentanyl. So the problem is that fentanyl is a different kind of a drug.
Right. And Janice, I'll ask you this question. What do you make of the vending machines, right? They have them here in New York City. They put them up in Chicago. People can get the free needles, and then they can go and get high in a safe area or something like that. I mean, people are overdosing in front of the vending machine and at these safe injection centers. Why aren't the Democrats understanding that this is a disease? It's like a cancer. It's metastasizing. And the answer isn't, here's the gun, go kill yourself.
Well, it is a disease. And having vending machines with the actual antidote in it, like our Narcan, we're totally for that, because we need to get Narcans to help people, because it can happen to your neighbor and you might be a first responder. Mm-hmm. It can happen to your neighbor's kid. So to have like the Narcan vending machines, we are totally 100% for that. We want to get Narcan in everyone's first aid kit, because, you know, we've had people who neighbors have overdosed by accident, you know, and right. If that was the case, or say it's a 14-year-old child, and that's what you have in your house to save them, you know, that's a good thing. Now, you know, all of the other types of vending machines, I have not seen those yet, so, you know, I can't comment too much on those, but I can definitely comment on the Narcan vending machines.
And Dr. Frank, that's the thing, too, 30 seconds to you. People can be exposed to that. There was a 5-year-old that died here in New York City because he was at his daycare and he was exposed to fentanyl. So it is important to have that Narcan, but also to hold these people accountable that expose children to it.
Yes, very much so. And it's important for us to teach our children that this stuff is out on the street. It looks like candy. You can't even mess around. Now, once I have teenage daughters, you know, going to high school and middle school age. And I tell them, there's no experimenting around because you're young and want to just try things. It's so dangerous now that you just
Right.
can't get away with that anymore. So we have to make people aware that you can't even mess around, not even once.
Yep. Dr. Janice, thank you both for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Lydia.